What's up, world? It's a Javelin Breakdown, bringing you episode 14 of the Javelin Breakdown show. As always, brought to you by Spearworks. We actually have a custom ghost on hand here today, so check it out. You got the spiral paint job, the orange base, but then we got this purple grip here. And so if you're interested in customizing the swirl or the grip, or you want to engrave something on the point, they can get that done for you. And so that's the Ghost. And so their Raptor javelins are even more customizable. You can do two colors running up the sides. So check them out on the Instagram. You can see lots of different examples. They're really cool ways people have customized their Spearworks products. Got a lot of ground to cover today. We're going to be previewing the men's and women's fields for Division I, so let's get into it.
Yeah! Let's go! Come on! Let's go! Yeah!
At the top of the women's javelin field, you have Rayma Otaber and Maddie Harris of Nebraska. And so they lead the way with 59 and 58 plus meters, and they have had very strong seasons. Coming into nationals, they've won-two'd their conference meet, and I think they still had a strong showing at the regional meet. So Maddie threw really well. Rayma was 12th, so she was the last person to make it out of the West Prelim, but she only toe fouled her third throw that was allegedly over 55 meters. So, with that in mind, I'm very confident that the two of them are going to have a really strong showing at nationals. I think they're going to push each other for the top spot. So I see both of them being in at least the top four, and definitely either of them have a very strong chance at winning. Another duo, the women of Texas A&M, that's going to be Liana Davidson and Caitlin Fairchild. They've been throwing well all season. Liana coming off of PR throw at SECs over 57 meters to take the win there, and Caitlin throwing 56.08 for a PR at the West Prelim. So both of them in fantastic shape. They've been throwing well all season long. I believe both of them are going to be bringing some serious heat down in Austin. A third duo of women, this time we're talking about Sophia Rivera and Skylar Ciccolini representing Missouri, the number one squad in the country for most of the season until Nebraska took that title a few weeks ago. Both of them, I think, coming into this national meet in good form for different reasons. So you got Sophia, who opened up really well down in Georgia, and then from there had strong throws all season in the 54-55 meter range, and did really well at SECs, taking second to Liana Davidson. And Skylar, on the other hand, opened really well in Georgia and then didn't throw for the rest of the season. We thought maybe she'd throw at SECs, but didn't. Took one throw at the West Prelim, and that's all it took. And she looked great. So she went over 55, punched her ticket, 55.70 to be exact. So I think she's right where she needs to be, despite not competing all season since her opener. The way she looked on the runway at the West Prelim from the live stream, from what I can tell, I think she can pull off 6 throws and be in the mix at nationals. So I'm really excited to see what she can do. Next, I want to talk about the strongest thrower coming out of the East, and that's going to be Madison Wiltrout. And that's your defending bronze medalist from last year, and also someone that went over 60 meters. And so she hasn't really had the chance to battle with any of the women of the West, but this Nationals is going to be a showdown. And so representing the East, Madison has thrown 56, 54, 58, and 56 this year. So really strong, only competed in 4 meets, so really preparing for the end of the season. I think she's really set up for success, and I could definitely see her pulling off, I'm not going to call it an upset, but certainly, with all the dominance of the women of the West, might be a surprise to see someone of the East take the title, but I think Madison definitely is someone to consider when it comes to this meet. Next up, Ashton Lunt of BYU, your defending champion, hasn't had the season you'd expect her to have, coming off, winning nationals, being only one of 2 women to go over 60 meters. But she punched her ticket nonetheless with 55.57 last week, a season's best. So that's a solid throw. So will she find her best form this week in Austin? I'm not sure, but I hope she can. I think she can, so we'll see what happens. Next up, Ariana Moraes of UTEP, flying a little under the radar this season. She popped off 57.38 to win at Mount Sac, and then only had one other meet before her conference meet, and then the West Prelim. So she has that big throw at Mount Sac, and then we don't really see too much till we go to this West Prelim, and she wins the West, which, given how deep the West is, that's extremely impressive. And she wins with 57.61, another PR. So leading into nationals, she's got to be in great form, got to be in great confidence coming off of that. So if she can repeat anything close to that, she's certainly going to be in the top 8. Next up, Frederica Botter of UCLA went massive at Pac-12s over 57 meters, massive personal best, and then followed that up with a 54 plus at the West prelim to punch her ticket. So if she can be anywhere in that range, she's certainly going to get herself into finals in that 54 plus range. But if she can find that, 57, 56 potentially, that's going to move her up even higher, and I think that's what's going to take to be, top 5. This women's field is just incredibly deep. Next, Michaela van der Westhuizen opened her season with a season's best of 56.68, but hasn't quite found that form since then. But she went over 55 at the West Prelim, so I think back into the groove a little bit. As I've said before, she has international experience representing South Africa, so she might be a little more prepared for the championship-style meets than some of the other women who haven't been to a meet of this caliber and with these kinds of procedures and whatnot. So we'll see what kind of form she's able to produce this week in Austin. And then other women that I definitely think have a chance of making finals include Megan Alpamonte of Delaware, Leonie Troger of Cincinnati, Dana Baker of Duke, Kate Joyce of Princeton, who finished 6th last year with her PR throw over 54 meters. So we'll see who makes finals and who throws some fireworks. I think it's going to be an excellent competition. I'm still trying to do research to figure out what's the deepest competition in history thus far. I think this one is certainly going to be one for the ages. I could easily see it taking over 52 high, 53 meters to make finals. 52.10 is what made it out of the West. So I could easily see, 53 plus to make finals, and the top, 3 places, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 could certainly be 54 plus, even 55 plus. There's just that many women that are capable. So it's just a matter of if the conditions are right and the women come to let it rip, and I really hope they do.
Let's talk about my 3 favorite things about the Spearworks Ghost Javelin. Number 1, the weight. So at 450 grams, it's not as stiff as the 800 or 600 gram Javelin, and so with that, I'm able to take more throws in my session to work on my technique, and so that just is a big help on my body to be able to alternate between the 800 or other javelins I have and the Ghost Javelin to, again, just get more reps in a session. Number 2 is that this javelin is very sensitive to technical flaws, and so if you don't hit it through the point, it's not going to fly as far, but when you do, it flies very far. It's very satisfying. So it's a great tool for humbling yourself and being like, hey, you're not really hitting it through the point, so it's not going to go the distance, or you're really hitting it and it'll go really far. So it's a great tool in that capacity. And thirdly, it's customizable. With that customization, there's a number of color options for the javelin, a number of color options for the cord, laser engraving on the point, and so there's a ton of combinations. It's really awesome. So between all that, highly recommend you check out the Ghost Javelin, which is link in the description. Check it out.
Next up, we're previewing the men's competition, and so starting off with our defending champion, Mark Minicello of Georgia, comes in excellent form this season. So some highlights include winning Mount Sac with his 80.62 season's best from this year, beating not only great college but also professional throwers. He wins SECs after a tough preliminary round of throws with a 79.50, I think, on his 5th throw, and then a solid 74 getting things done at the regional meet. So I think there's a very strong chance of Mark repeating. He's in great form. So we'll see if he can this week. So next up is Ethan Dabbs of Virginia, and he's your returning silver medalist, and I think he's hungry for more this championship. And so he has the lead of throwers coming into this meet since Keyshawn is not there, of 80.82, and that was earlier this year. So since then, I think a little bit underwhelming by Ethan's standards, but I think he's going to put things together, and in fact, that's why I've picked him for my fantasy team. I think he's going to win. I certainly think Mark can win, and there's other people that could, but I think Ethan's going to put it together. I like the way he moves on the runway, and so when things come together for him, I think it's just going to be an explosion. And so I think he's ready to put it together, especially after the meets that he's had in the last couple of weeks where he's been fine-tuning things. I think it's his time to put things together. Next up, a lot of credit needs to go this man's way, and that's to Zuriel Pedego of LSU. And so he's your champion from 2021, where he went nearly 77 meters, 76.98 as a freshman. And then last year he takes 3rd with another PR throw, 78.90. So let me break this down for you. The last 2 years he's thrown very well at SECs, and then he throws pretty well at the prelim, and then he goes to nationals and crushes it and throws a PR. He's done that twice in a row. And this year, to recap, he took 2nd at SECs with 78.34, and he won the East prelims on his 3rd throw to go from 12th to 1st with 76.49. So this would be the 3rd time history's going to repeat itself, I think. He's going to have a great throw. I think he's going to be in a great position to do really well at Nationals. Just like the women, the men in Nebraska do not play around, and so Arthur Peterson and Dash Sermon have had great throwing all season long. Arthur going over 77, Dash going over 75. I think the both of them are ready to pop another big throw and add another meter or two to what they've done already this season. Given their consistency, I definitely think Arthur is in the title conversation, and Dash has a very good chance of being in the top 5. And so look to see them, like the women, dominate this week. Other men who are certainly capable of podium performances, Namdi Prosper of Baylor. He threw 81 plus meters last year at the prelim, and he finished in 5th with over 78 meters. And he's gone over 79 earlier this year, and I think if he can get back to that type of movement on the runway this week, he's certainly going to be in a position to strike. Another guy to watch for is Cameron Bates of BYU, and so he's coming off of a solid season after an injury that kept him out of last season, and he has the season's best of 76.07. He went over 77 2 years ago. He's certainly capable of what it's going to take to finish in the top 5, and so with his runway speed, if he can find the point, which has been the challenge from what I've seen, if he can connect, I think he's going to have a really big one. Next, Braden Presser and Luke Jackson of Navy and then Duke had massive PRs at the East Prelim, and I think if they can hold on to any of that form, they're certainly going to be able to make finals and see what they can do from there. And then the rest of the field, there's a bunch of guys who have thrown 71 to 74 meters, and so they're all capable of getting into the mix. I think it's going to take probably almost 73 meters to make finals, maybe more. Both the men's and women's field, as I've said all year, are incredibly strong, and so if the weather's good, it's going to take top performances. Really excited that a number of you have signed up for the fantasy competition, and it's not too late if you want to sign up. The link's in the description of this, and so you can sign up as late as Tuesday night, and so all you got to do is check out the link, and you can read up on how to pick your team with your budget, and you give a team name and submit that, and I'll put it in the spreadsheet, and you'll be in the running for the competition, which is just for fun. There's no entry fee, there's no prize or anything, just for fun. So if you're interested, check it out. Link is in the description. And that fantasy competition is also brought to you by Spearworks. And finally, to end today's show, let's talk about the men's javelin competition that was in Helenga. And so we saw an interesting competition that started off strong, then kind of was a little flat, and then ended strong. So Julian Weber opened up with 86 meters in round 2, and Keshorn Walcott went over 83 on his first and second throw. From there, everybody kind of struggled to hold their rhythm together until in the later rounds, the Finns pushed their best marks up to 79 and 80 meters respectively, and then on his final throw, Weber went a little further, went 87.14. Timothy Herman, who had that massive throw a few weeks ago, went over 78 meters twice in this meet. Johannes Vetter really struggled and did not take his 5th throw, so not sure what's going on there, but hoping for the best for him. Really enjoying bringing you guys these episodes, and so next week we'll recap what happened at the NCAA meet, and then from there we'll kind of probably take a bit of a pause, and then from there we'll start to preview the World Championships and recap, U.S. Nationals and Jav Fest and other things going on this summer. Really appreciate everyone's support, really appreciate Spearworks sponsoring the show. As always, guys, remember to enjoy the journey. Javelin is fun. There are highs and there are lows, and it's a long year, especially in the U.S., to build up for the high school season that only is 2 months long. So enjoy every bit of it. So I'll say it again, remember to enjoy the journey.